right, thank you very much. We are on the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to hand over to a combination of our technical and proposition team to take you through the RM roadmap. But I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to reflect on the day so far. I think it's been really, really interesting sessions that we've had this morning and early this afternoon. Hope you found them useful. If there's any general questions that you've got, please do put them forward. If we don't answer them today, we will follow up. We do intend to do some written responses. So yeah, just keep the flow of questions coming. If you've got any about the roadmap, then Alex, Maria and Ian are quite happy to take those in the same manner that we've done previously. And then I will invite our CEO, Mark Cook, up to do some closing remarks. He's pulling a face, he knows he is. So, Ian, I'm going to hand over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Kieran. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be able to take the next half hour or so to just share a little bit with you about what's coming up in our horizons as well. We're going to share this slot with Alex and Maria. Alex heads our platform engineering team, and Maria's our chief architect, right? Yeah. Well, that will do. And I look after propositions for RM. So I've worked in EdTech for about 30 years, and I think, for being honest, I've not seen the pace of technology change as rapid as it is right now, but also the pace of societal change as well in that, which makes that a real challenge as looking at the future of what we're doing, where we're going, and how we respond to that. And with all of that landscape, this isn't really a technology challenge particularly, but it's more about how we can harness the power of that technology to tap into some of those incredible opportunities. We put this graphic together a couple of years ago to recognise the different journeys that assessment organisations and professional bodies are on, of thinking about how they respond to that landscape. And wherever you are on that digital assessment journey, as we called it. And we try not to pigeonhole people, but inevitably, when I put this graphic up in front of organisations, you immediately start thinking about where you are on that journey. But the important thing in my mind when we put this together was the bit on the right, that side, the transforming bit, the transforming assessment and transforming learning end. And that will mean very different things to different organisations. It will mean different things to you. But the exciting conversations we have are where we then think about how we can support our learners and improve learning outcomes with organisations in the different professions, different industries and different contexts that we're working in. So in this slot, we're going to explore something about how RM is responding to that landscape, the things that we can see on the horizon as well. We'll talk about some of the emerging trends, and Alex and Maria are going to tell you a little bit about how we're approaching the next generation of our assessment platform as well, which really lays the foundations for what's to come. So the landscape that we're working in is constantly changing. Part of our role and part of my role is to be aware of things that are emerging, not just technology shifts, but also changing attitudes and changing priorities. And that helps to inform and drive where we're prioritising research, where we're prioritising investment, where we're prioritising development as well. Acutely aware that there's many different sectors and industries represented today, and that has led to such rich conversations, hasn't it? Where we start to realise the benefit of being able to learn from each other and hear about how we can pick up ideas from different industries, different professions, and apply them to our own. But through all of that, I think that there are emerging themes that we see working with our clients. I'm sure that you see working with your teachers, your educators, your learners as well. And that's kind of represented on this graphic. And there are three sectors on this wheel: learners, educators, and accreditors. And we can see that there are emerging themes for each of those and emerging priorities as well. And then 3 circles that represent different stages of innovation. The outer is about monitoring, being aware of emerging themes, to moving into more structured research and then into more active innovation projects before final adoption. And what does that mean? Well, let me just pick out 2 or 3 examples from this. First of all, in learners, and I make no apologies for rooting everything that I do back with learners, as we all do. Ultimately supporting our learners to achieve and be recognised for their achievements is what we're all about. And we continually see this relentless drive to the assessment of skills and more authentic assessments, simulating real-life scenarios, whether that's in technical skills, whether it's in challenging environments that are hard to replicate in assessment context, or whether it's the application of skills in a real-life scenario. A couple of examples that I just pick out in there. Over the last few years, I've worked with various financial services and accountancy organisations to make the assessment better aligned to the particular skills that are needed in the profession. It's great to have some of those bodies with us today as well. And we've seen how assessment in that industry has changed beyond recognition over the last 8-9 years. If I look at Richard, I hope he would nod. But if I think back to when I first started working with ICAW, paper exams was the way that we were assessing professional qualifications, which was so far removed from the experiences of accountants in the workplace. And now, that clearly, as we look forward, that even the model of assessment that we have now, we need to keep looking at how that can be better represented of the profession, and that pressure is coming from industry bodies and employers who want to have skilled individuals coming into the profession who are ready to work and ready for work. And right now, we're working with general qualification providers as well, of thinking about things like computer science assessments. And it beggars belief that in 2025, computer science is assessed on paper. It just beggars belief, but it is the reality in many countries in the world. And so, what we're doing right now is looking at how we can digitize that, not simply by doing paper under glass, but of actually making the assessment process much better aligned to the skills that we want our young people to be able to display in life. And ultimately, it will make them more employable and more useful to employers as well. For educators, we're seeing an increased focus on empowering teachers and empowering educators, particularly providing them with insightful and actionable data. And that's one area that we've I think there's been a lot of talk about today. In our rich technological world, where we have so much data available to us, and our challenge now is how do we empower educators without overwhelming them, but giving them access to actionable and insightful data. And so we're working to look at the nature of reporting and analytics within our platforms and how we can make that data more readily available to those users that can benefit from the wealth of that data. And of course, the work that we've spoken around today around AI marking is ultimately about driving efficiency, empowering educators and accreditors as well. And for the accreditor, we'll continue to look at the many ways in which AI and automation can bring efficiencies, new opportunities, help address challenges which, to be frank, are really hard to solve with a human-centered process, but actually with AI and with automation, it unlocks new capabilities. And so thinking about the many different ways in which we could harness the power of automation to do that, but the point's been made several times today, of trying to do that in a managed, measured, lots of M's in there, but in a measured and controlled way, so that we're making the right steps forward in the right way for our accreditors. So this graphic kind of just gives a view about how there are some areas that we're particularly aware of, monitoring, investigating, listening to you as assessment bodies, the things that are important to you and are driving your challenges, moving into more active research, similar to what you've heard reported on today through the papers that we've presented today, and then into more active innovation. And some of you I know have seen the work that Mark and Nick were presenting out in the Village Green earlier as well. And as things move between circles, inwards and outwards, both as confidence in those increases, or maybe an awareness of them actually say, no, these aren't as important for us right now, so we'll move them back out again. That dynamic is really significant for us. So I'm not going to go through the whole of this graphic, because to be frank, I think you'll probably all be most of the way down the M4 by the end of this. But just to set out that across our wider platform, we've got a really ambitious roadmap of over the next few years, both in laying the foundations of our global accreditation platform, and my colleagues will talk a little bit more about how we're approaching that in a second, but also about the breadth of the whole assessment, the end-to-end assessment journey, the creation, delivery, marking of assessment. And this year and over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be particularly focusing in our foundations and building more, as I said earlier on, a better access to reporting and data. In our create lane, we'll have a continued focus around item types, as I've already said, and that might be making items more relevant, more authentic and better aligned to the skills that we're assessing. We'll talk about delivery in a moment, but that is at the heart of our platform, of having absolute confidence that of the delivery of reliable assessments to individuals wherever they are in the world, whatever else is going on around them, but we can have confidence that we're providing systems that will mean when they sit down to take an assessment, it's as reliable as a bit of paper and a pen, and that's no mean feat to achieve that. RM's heritage has been around marking. We've presented today around AI marking, and that drive for more efficiency through marking processes will increase, but also thinking about different ways in which work can be assessed, and the picking and selecting the right means of assessing and evaluating work, wherever that is in the learning process, whether formative or summative. And a big shift for us over the last few years has to become much more focused on the learning process. You know, I know we fall into the shorthand of formative and summative maybe a little bit too easily, but that sense that assessment has got a role to play throughout the whole learning journey. And that's a really significant shift that I'm seeing for the way that people like yourselves are talking to us about how you see the future of assessment. There's not just being about that big bang, end of course, end of module assessment, but it becomes much more about how do we continue to evaluate individuals' abilities as they progress through learning. And then that piece about integrity will remain really significant for us. Yeah, how can we make sure that the qualifications that are being distributed, that the exam results that students are getting have got high levels of integrity around them? And you know, there's I can't remember a phrase that's been used today, but that point about, you know, particularly as we see more generative AI out there, that, you know, we're not going to just be able to magically find instances of malpractice, but what we are going to do is to start looking at how we layer on different tools and techniques to be able to have more confidence in the qualifications and accreditations that we're providing. So I hope that just gives you a flavour of the things that are coming up in our horizon, the sorts of things that are driving our roadmap. I'm going to hand over now to Alex, Maria. Maria.
We'll see when we see the next slide.
I'll click the slide and then we'll see who stands up. Just to bring to life a little bit more about our shift to the focus we're now putting in the core of our systems. So there we go.
It's mine. It's half of my slide.
Half of
Where's the other one? Oh.
You can just keep clicking next.
Okay. I will have slightly less dynamic slides and more static. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria. I'm head of architecture. I look after engineering and architecture of the application. I like to start these things with the whys. It's important to understand why we do what we do. Now, I'm going to probably disappoint some of you. It's not going to be the product roadmap. This is going to be what we do in order to support the product roadmap. How do we make everything happen? And the whys here are the challenges that are set in front of us. Challenges are security, performance, stability, availability, ability to deliver what we need to deliver. And we're very lucky because of all of you guys, we actually have high demand. We have amazing things to deliver this year, next year, lots of many years ahead of us. And the way I see it is that we need to be 5 years ahead in order to be successful in 5 years. We have to do proper planning in order to be there and actually know what the technology will be able to support and deliver the demand and respond to the product roadmap that is coming, which is full of exciting features. Quick question to everyone. I am not familiar with all of you, unfortunately, but I hope to get to know you soon. How many people with engineering background do we have here by the show of hands? Do we have many? Just a few. Okay, cool. All right. Just so I have an idea how deep to go into some things. And okay, good stuff, good stuff. All right, so since this is an engineering roadmap with the whys we just defined, the key topics I want to cover is how we're going to get there, how we're going to get to that vision that we have set in front of us, how we're going to help achieve a lot of challenges with the product, with a lot of challenges with the amazing features. And the key topics here is distributed architecture, TDD, which is automations as part of that, and security, as you all know. That's a very, very critical topic for myself and for the rest of RM. So let's start with what that is. Distributed architecture. This is making my slides dynamic. Let's see, bear with me. I am not going to be going through this one by one. So what is distributed architecture? This is a technical term. So this is something that I need to explain in analogy. Imagine an airport where you have just one counter for everything. So you have to stand in the queue that is hundreds of people long in order to check your baggage, to do the customs, to have the baggage claims, to do security, etc., etc. This is called monolithic architecture, and one single point of failure, right? So as a company, we obviously don't have that, and we're trying to avoid that, and that is not the best model to have in any company. We are all about distributed architecture. And the further we go, the more of it we implement. So basically what that is that each little thing has its own purpose. It does one job, but it does it really well, rather than many things. So the more distributed things, the better, because we're removing the dependencies as we go. We're introducing ability to deploy features faster. We're decoupling teams from stepping on each other's toes. And if it's done right, then it allows for scale, and it allows you to grow and implement features on a faster pace. It is allowing for easier testing, which is very important, as we know. Basically, the way the testing is set up in that scenario is it is decoupled as well. So each little thing does its own thing. I'm using these simple words here. And it does it really, really well. So I've put some examples there. So for example, designing an exam or running the exam or marking the exam on processing results. Now, obviously, this is big topics. And we are drilling into more details into what else is that little one thing that something can do really, really well, and take the full accountability of it. What is that service? What does that service look like? What does it do? What happens when it fails? Does it bring down the rest of the platform, or does it actually just just slightly has a glitch, and then we put it back up and nothing else is affected. So now on to the part. And this is not even on purpose. Okay, I could have made a whole thing around clicking. So this is just a very, very rough item list of how this distributed architecture helps in technology to make the future more adaptable, to make it more flexible, how we can improve on things. The more we are distributed, the more we can scale up and down, the more we can improve the performance. One thing can be scaled up and down independently from everything else. We increasing the velocity of the deliveries and making it better and better and better as we go. Now, another exciting thing that we are doing, and this is probably less familiar, whilst I'm sure some people heard about distributed architecture before, TDD might be less known. Now, I'm going to try explain this in the airport terms as well. Let's see if this is coming across as quite clear thing or not. So if you were to build a plane, you don't just start by building a plane, right? You start with something else, likely blueprints. You start designing, you started defining the conditions on what it needs to deal with. Does it need to be okay in turbulence? Does it need to have landing gear? What does it do? So essentially, you're writing a scenario for your build before you start the build. And then you do the build after that based on that scenario. But you don't do the full plane at once based on the scenario either, right? Once you have the scenario, you go over here and you do a prototype. And that prototype needs to do things 1, 2, 3. For example, it needs to be able to take off, and it needs to be able to not fall down. Let's start with that, right? And that's your feature. So you've already written the test, you have the blueprint for it, you don't have anything here, you didn't build anything, but you know what this is. And then you go here, and you build it, and then you test it. You run that test, and you see check, 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 everything is done, right? And it takes off and it doesn't drop. Fantastic. Okay. Then you go back here and say, okay, now how do we make it stay in the air for 3 hours and not 5 minutes? And then you repeat the process and you go here. So now your test is passing because you build this thing. So essentially, this is a concept of TDD as well. So you write the test. You start with the failing test because there's nothing built, right? We just wrote the test. I want this to be flying, but there's nothing built. There's no code to support it, nothing. Then you write the code, and you then run the test, and you see it pass. So this is the whole concept of write a failing test, which is red, make the test pass, and then we're coming to refactor, which is the bit where you come back to your blueprint and say, now it needs to stay up in the air for 3 hours. Makes sense, right? So what is the other benefit of TDD? Not only you are checking yourself whilst you're building your engines, you're flying airplane, etc., but you're also reducing the bugs, making it the delivery faster. And the coolest thing that I love is at the point when this airplane is so huge, you already build it, it's a Boeing, it's flying. Now you need to go and change the engine. You need to fix something in the engine. You go and fix it and you play with it. And then what do? You just send it off and hope for the best? No. You take the tests and you run the tests against the airplane, ensuring you did not break the airplane. And that means that I don't need to be sitting there and checking every single detail manually. I have automated tests that are written by engineers who knew what they were doing when they were doing it. And now I can run all the tests and ensure that that is what I need and I didn't break anything. And if I did, I will see it instantly. So TDD helps us a lot, reducing the bugs, better design because of that agile process, ensuring that we get to where we want to be, seeing the failures, seeing the greens, then refactoring, getting it better, faster debugging, safer changes, safer future changes, and generally making lives easier. That is the cool part about automation. And then, another one. Okay, this one is the last one. So you can see how much we care about security. There's a lot of clicking there. So the concept that obviously I go by is secure by design. So every single team is very well aware that this is every single design, every single test we write, every single change we make is we keep the security by design in mind to ensure that we are checking all the validations are present, that we're doing the data protection in every change. The definition of tickets, definition of everything we do is sitting around security as a priority, because that is a critical factor in every single design, every single feature we do. Monitoring, API security, continuous testing, automation tools. Luckily, we live in such a fantastic century where we have so much automation we can introduce and rely on things to tell us what else we might have done better. And that all improves our security and stability as part of it. And I think the next one is Alex.
I have just over 10 minutes on the clock. I'm hoping they're all mine. Okay, so I am Alex. I'm the head of platform infrastructure. So that's the platform engineers and also our technical operations team who manage your fantastic live service for our existing customers. That might not be the question that's on your mind. It might be, what is platform infrastructure and why am I interested? We've heard about some great features on the roadmap, and it's very, very important that these changes sit on a solid service foundation. And this is where platform infrastructure teams come in, and they fulfill a vital role with focus on 3 key areas. I'm going to do some transformations. So our global team proactively and reactively manage the platform, and they ensure a robust and stable service at all times. We protect the integrity of your data through rigorous and audited processes and controls. And like Maria, security is at the forefront of every decision we make. I'm going to take you through some plans that sit outside the product roadmap, but they facilitate those changes and they complement them. So, our current product portfolio is a multi-cloud solution. Our assessment master service sits within Amazon Web Services, and the remainder of our services sit on Microsoft's Azure Cloud Platform. Now, obviously, this picture is a very simplified view of the architecture, but essentially both platforms are web-based, data-driven solutions with security and management wrapper around them. So while our 2 core products were distinct offerings, there was no real reason to change that multi-cloud approach. And we've already released features that integrate them, such as bringing in assessment master data into Assessor to be marked. As we move towards this vision of a global accreditation platform, we will move away from this multi-cloud solution. That will allow us to simplify and provide the kind of foundations for a unified and truly scalable platform. So what does the future look like? We will consolidate our services onto the Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform. That brings us a host of benefits. It brings improved response times by removing that network latency of transferring data between 2 cloud platforms. It takes a standardized approach to how we build and deliver our services, and that means efficient and consistent approaches to managing the platform, supporting the platform. We can take advantage of all of the Azure native features as we evolve the platform. And key, by moving within one platform, we move it within a single security perimeter. And that means we have greater protection of your data and the services. And key to my teams, it gives them a single pane of glass over the whole platform. And that gives us greater control and visibility of how we manage the service health. So that's probably the question on your mind. Will there be disruption? I mean, all this promised change is really, really exciting, but change can be scary. And you might be wondering how we get there without disrupting your service. So the move to the new consolidated platform will be tied to a single quarterly release. And that is key because it limits the scope of change. It allows us to focus on the testing of it together with key pieces of functionality that change within that quarterly release. We will automate and peer review and test the infrastructure migration alongside the application changes that sit inside that quarterly release. Those automated deployment scripts then form a proven, repeatable and efficient framework for every subsequent deployment to the new platform. And that guarantees the same outcomes every time and regardless of environment. We will execute dry runs for every migration. So that allows us to validate the success of the migrations while your live service continues on the old platform. And we will not transfer live service for any environment, any customer, until we have a successful dry run that proves the process for them. And in the same way that we schedule your maintenance windows for your deployments, we will do the quarterly release and the migration into the new platform in an agreed window, with service resuming transparently when the maintenance completes. So, what's the rollout plan? This is a significant project, and it has significant timelines. So the design and the build of the underlying infrastructure is underway. So this covers the foundations of networking, security, and builds the framework for all the changes that then sit on top. The new infrastructure will be used for the full life cycle of the change. So we will start with our development environments, and as we make the changes to the applications, we will build all the automations and the pipelines that will deploy those changes. As the release reaches the QA environment, we will use the same automated processes that we've used for our development environments, the same processes that have been established and proven through that life cycle so far. So by the time it reaches your UAT environments and your production environments, we will have tested and streamlined those processes many, many times. And of course, all changes to your environments will go through our change management processes and will be agreed by you. So I'm going to go back to the question at the start. What does platform infrastructure have to do with change? So we are the essential building blocks that deliver that robust and secure service. We facilitate controlled change through automated pipelines and processes. And with this foundation in place, you can focus on the exciting changes in the application without any worry of how they get delivered. With that, I'll hand back to Ian.
Great, thank you very much, Alex. And hopefully from all of that, we've been able to just give you a sense of both a roadmap that's underpinned by strong technical foundations that's going to ultimately lead to the point that I made right at the start, which is this really is about us providing systems and tools and services which can transform assessment and transform learning. As it's been such an exciting time today of hearing about the different ways in which we can see the use of automation and the use of AI throughout the whole of the learning journey, the whole of the assessment journey. And these foundations that we've talked about today are really giving us that the strong foundations, the strong building blocks, which are going to allow us to get the benefit from the exciting potential of AI in the coming months and years. Against all the odds, I think we've managed to keep to time. So I'm going to hand back to Kieran. Thank you.